In our yesterday's session, we started understanding how we are creating the REST services in our Spring Boot framework. So that is the main objective we started in yesterday session. So I told you one more thing is, we just understood like what is a producer application, what is a consumer application, what is the meaning of producing, what is the meaning of consuming. So at what time we are calling our application as a producer or a producer application, or at what time we are calling our application as a consumer application. Those details we discussed in a yesterday's session. So it's all about any application can communicate with any applications if you are using web services. And okay, now web services point of view, REST services we identified as a best solution. So that means by using one application to another application, whether it is a .NET to Python, Python to .NET, Java to Python, or React to Java, Angular to Java, Angular to Python, Angular to .NET. So like that, any applications communication is always happens only REST services nowadays development point of view. Okay, so those are all details we discussed. The moment whenever your application is getting created, services, implemented services, your service will be called as producer application. If anyone else, if any other application is being calling your REST services or integrated your REST services, then that application is called as consumer application. If your application is calling someone else applications REST services, then in such case your application is also okay. You have to call in that scenario as a consumer application. So like that we understood producer and consumer things, and after that we started writing what JSON services, sorry, REST services. So by using Spring Boot, we started creating the REST services, and as part of that, first we created what? An application. So to create a REST services application in Spring Boot, you don't need to take any extra dependencies. We don't have any specific dependencies. So we have to take only web application dependency only, like what we taken in the web application point of view. So this is enough for create the REST services. And if you want, obviously our applications will have database integration. So JPA we can add. So application creation point of view, same steps what we did. And after that, the most important thing what we understood in our yesterday session is what is the difference between controller and REST controller. So when we have to go for controller, when you have to go for REST controller, we discussed those points also. So controller is all about the default annotation to write the controller classes in general. So here you can, by using controller annotation and controller classes, you can write REST services as well as you can write, okay, so URL view resolver endpoints also. So wherever you are involving view layer in your Spring Boot application itself, and whenever you want to write those endpoints, so those are also you can integrate. You can implement as part of the controller. So if I remove response body, what will happen? This is not a REST service now. So that means it will look for view resolver name. So in this case, it is working as a model and view layer point of view. View layer, it is looking for view layer. But in this case, it's working as a REST service. That means the data what we are returning is always being the data what we are returning is always being added to the response body level directly. But here it's not considering as a response. It is considering as a view layer object or view layer point of view because there is no response body annotation. So that means by using controller classes, we can create the REST services, but we have to make sure always added at the rate response body at every endpoint level, so that when whatever we are returning data or whatever in future we are creating REST services, okay, so we with irrespective of view resolver, view layer, we have to make always response body annotation. So that's why what Spring Framework thought here it is, okay, when people are implementing completely REST services in their backend applications like 500, 600 REST services in the same application, why people has to write every time at the rate request body, at the rate response body, at the rate response body, and every handler method like that, they came up with a concept called as REST controller annotation. So that means REST controller annotation is all about dealing with controller annotation. If you see here, at the rate controller, at the rate response body. So this is the combination of these two annotations, REST controller annotation. So this is the combination of these two annotations. so that now you no need to write at the rate response body annotation. Why? This annotation itself contains at the rate response body. So that's why we no need to add specifically. So that means whatever the endpoints we are writing, handler methods we are writing inside the REST controller class, by default a REST service. So there is no point of involving view resolver in this case. We cannot do it also. So when your controller has to taking care of view resolver things also, then you have to make sure that specific controllers with at the rate controller. So these are all details we discussed in detail yesterday, and with an examples also with practical point of view, we taken all the details. And after that, I explained one more thing is, once we have done that, we taken one of the Spring Boot concept called as DevTools, nothing but developer tools. So it's a small feature provided by the Spring Boot framework, like where what it is doing is it just started reloading the changes when you are making changes. So that means what? Whenever we make a small code change, if you don't have a dev tools, usually what we have to do is, for example, the moment you added here hello Dilip, so to see this latest response is working or not, whatever the code changes you did, whether it is a one line change, 10 lines change, 100 lines change, whatever it is, to reload that latest changes, what we have to do is we have to do every time restart. A manual restart we have to do. As a developer, we have to select and we have to do the restart. But now, in this case, when you added DevTools, what's happening? For the first time, you will start your application. For the first time, you will start. Okay. After that, whenever you made any code changes, okay, uh, give me a second. Just I renamed yesterday project name so that we can have an order in our Google Drive also. Okay. So the moment for the first time you started, it's okay. But later on, as a developer, definitely we will do n number of changes every time. Okay, back and forth we will do the code changes. So the moment you are making the code changes and you are making control S, I mean saving the changes, what will happen? See, automatically it is reloading the new changes. So it is reducing the number of restarts when you are making the code changes. So how we are achieving this behavior is by just adding this dependency. That's all you have to do. You don't need to do anything else. Just add this dependency to your project, your Spring Boot application. That's all. It will take care of remaining everything. So if you want to disable that functionality, then remove this dependency or comment this dependency. Then nothing but you are not added DevTools. Then you have to go with manual restarts whenever you want to change your code, whenever you want to test the code changes. So that is the feature of DevTools. So that is what one more thing we discussed yesterday. Okay, let's see continuation to yesterday what we can do with what we are going to understand in the REST services point of view now. Okay, so REST services point of view only. What else we can see? Let's see. Mm, okay, so okay, let me take a new project. I don't want to take this. Freshly, I am taking new project and then I'll take a new concept. First, let's create the project, Spring Starter project. So what I will do here it is REST services, and then okay. So I'm taking Lombok, JPA, Web, Oracle, as well as DevTools also. So it's all for restarting our application when we are making code changes. Finish it. Okay, fine. So total Yeah, let's add that properties also, DB properties. Okay, so I'll take these properties. Okay, so here I'll make my context path as slash API and all my DB details. Cool. Now I can start my application. It's okay. So it's all common. Now let's start with a new topic. What we can take here it is. Let's take a first a controller class again. And then I'll show you a couple of details with respect to REST services only. Okay. So controller, I'll take like user management controller. Okay. So now in this case, I'm adding by default, I mean, at the rate REST controller so that I can avoid at the rate response body to create the REST services. Okay, cool. So this is, we know that. Now let's start looking about request mapping annotation. For example, public void or something like, let's take like string, add user. Okay. And public void, or let's take like string only, delete user. Okay, fine. I'll take like this. So that means my requirement is like this. Based on the requirement also, I'll explain you all these topics. So user management means just like user sign up, add user and delete user, update user. That means update user details. He can update his first name, last name, his mobile numbers, something like that. Add user means first time he is creating user account. Delete means deleting user profile, update user profile, and view user also. So view user. So that means get the user details, read user details. So these kind of operations generally it's all about when comparing with the database. Generally, we in our software applications we will always have four operations. What it is represented as CRUD. So CRUD means yeah. So C represents create. See whatever I am explaining here it is guidelines. Yes? Some few I mean in this case your understanding today is all about how what are the guidelines you have to follow while implementing the REST services, and as well as we will understand about more about request mapping annotation also, and as well as I'll include HTTP methods in this case. Okay, so these are all very very important. Please concentrate. So these are all topics together we are discussing now. Okay. So in general database point of view, we will always have four operations. Yeah, one is call create, second one is read, nothing but select. So create is nothing but with respect to DB queries point of view, I can say like insert query operation. So U is representing update. So it's nothing but update query. So D is representing delete operations, nothing but delete queries. So in general database level, we will do always four types of operations: insert operations, select operations, update operations, delete operations. Right? So this is the terminology of database. Now same point of view I take in requirements. So that means in future whenever we take in a requirements also most of the times falls under these four categories only. Okay, every time with respect to the database point of view a requirement always falls under out of these four categories. Now if I say add user, that means what will happen? Insert operation. Insert user details, nothing but create operation, right? So similarly delete user. So that means delete operation. Delete operation. Similarly, update user. So that means updating the existing details like modifying your password, change password, reset password, updating your mobile number to new mobile number, something like that. You are updating your profile name, something, update user details. So that means it's all about update operation. Similarly here, select operation. Select star from user profile where user ID equal to Dilip like that. So it's all about view user details. So select operation, right? Now my point here it is, we have a concept called as HTTP methods. We have a concept called as HTTP methods. So what are the HTTP methods we know? What is a HTTP? Every time, whenever you are sending a request from client to server, in a client server architecture, from our day one onwards, servlets or whatever programming language you can take, in a client server architecture, what will happen? The moment any client sent a request to server, it will always contains 100% a HTTP method. 100% HTTP method is available. 100 percentage we have to a HTTP method is existed, right? So this formula, this point we know that. So whether it is a get, put, post or whatever it is. Now my point is how we are choosing which HTTP method. Okay, how we are choosing which HTTP method is okay suitable, or maybe how we are choosing which HTTP method has to be considered based on a requirement. Now, yeah. So I said mostly if you take in anything, for example, order, Swiggy orders or Flipkart orders you can take. Generally, what orders, what kind of operations will be available? Create orders. That means you whenever you're placing the order, everything is good. You are inserting some order ID, some order details, everything in the table. That means create order. Sometimes you will do the cancel order. Okay, so nothing but what in this case a update query will execute. So that means in the DB level they will update like your order status as confirmed to cancel, something like that. So sometimes you want to delete old order items, like after 3 years you placed an order 3 years back. Okay, so in the Swiggy, what Swiggy people will do, they will maintain history only for 2 years or 3 years, something like that. Okay, or sometimes not only order, you just think some other places also you want to delete order. That means you want to delete that entry from the DB. So delete operation, right? So like that, if you take in most of the operations, create order, add product, delete product, for example, assume Flipkart. So Flipkart level, we know that as a vendor, we can add new products and I can update details of the products. So today I kept 100 rupees. For example, I added a product name ABC and price as 100 and etc. etc. Its description, its images and everything I added. Tomorrow I can update this information like 100 rupees to 50 rupees, like 50% off like that. So update product information, right? Update product information. Similarly, I can delete that product because now it's not, that products are not existed, stock is over, or maybe the product is gone from the market. So you have to delete those things, right? Now view products. What is the view product? So these definitely, right, whenever we are opening the Flipkart, what is happening in this, in such case, you will see the product information. You will see the product information. So the moment you are open the Flipkart and you clicked on any product, for example, yeah, so I am clicking on some of this mobile, one of the product. So some mobile I'm just taking. Okay, for example, this watch. Then what's happening? It's picking all the watch information. And that too, if I'm clicking on this, it's picking all this watch information. So then what is the operation we can expect in the backend? It's all about a select operation. It's all about select operation, right? So that is all. With respect to database point of view, always any operation falls under out of this one. Now, when comparing with, I mean, when I'm coming to the HTTP method, if you see the yesterday's REST services point of view, okay, Yeah. So what we understood, every time we have to define a HTTP method mostly, or client will send always a HTTP method is existed. And whenever we are defining REST services also, how do we know that which HTTP method we have to take to define a REST service? How do we, as a developer, how can we decide? So do I need to take get? Do I need to take post? Do I need to take put? Do I need to take delete? What? How can I decide it? When I'm implementing the REST services, okay, URI path, okay. You will give slash welcome, add user, delete user, slash delete slash user like that. But how do I know that which HTTP method I have to choose out of these four especially? Okay, so especially four we are having. I mean, we have seven or eight HTTP methods, but mostly the most popular one is get, and then post, and then put, and then delete. Okay, so now these four are popular. Remaining we have options like that, trace all these things. Now my point is, out of these four, especially, how do I know that which one I have to choose? So that means whenever I'm creating a REST service, in the backend application level, so assume I'm creating a REST service here in the backend application. So now I'm the producer application. That means I'm creating the REST service. I'm creating the REST service. Like now I want to choose based on the requirement point of view, I want to choose a HTTP method for that to implement that REST service. Now which one I have to choose? So whatever I chosen and whatever the thing I finalized, and I'll give that information to the client. Hey man, I'm using post. So whenever you are sending request for this, please send only post request. Now what client person will do whenever your REST service is getting hit triggered, he has to send only post request. If he is sending get request to that respective REST service level, what you saw that yesterday, right? For example, mm, yeah, let's take our new application only. So let me add here public, sorry, at the rate request mapping path means URI path. You know that it is, you are very much familiar in the servlets also, like add slash add user, like that you will give the path, comma, method equal to, so now what I given here it is post I given request method dot post. So what is the meaning of this one? So return add user, added user successfully or whatever it is. Okay. So in this case, you created a REST service. We created a REST service. But now what service it is add user, and it this REST service will accept only post request coming from the client. So what it will accept only post. Only post it will accept. This is the REST service you created. Now, for example, client sent request like this: localhost colon double eight double nine slash API slash add slash user, and he sent request with get. Client sending request like this. Now, what will happen in this case? So what Spring MVC will do is it will verify handler mapping. We discussed it, right? Dispatcher servlet handler mapping point of view. All these details will be okay stored as handler mapping and dispatcher. So see here in this case also same story, guys. The dispatcher servlet handler mapping, all these things. Okay. So same story comes in this case also. So what request will come to dispatcher servlet? Dispatcher servlet will go to the handler mapping, and handler mapping point of view, then dispatcher servlet will ask, could you please check this one and this one, okay, is available in your handler mappings or not. Then what handler mapping will do? It will verify. Okay, add user is matching. Okay. So incoming request is get, but it is created for post. Then what it will give information back to dispatcher servlet? URI is found, but HTTP method is created as post, but client came with get. So that's why I'm not allowing. So that means get method is not allowed. So simply what is the response you will get back? So in this case, it will say like get method not allowed. Why? Actual REST service is implemented with post, but you send request, right? So that behavior we saw that. That behavior we already seen. Anyway, I'll show you one more time quickly. Okay, it started. Mm, localhost double line slash API. So today I taken as API, and then I want add slash user. This is the REST service. Now you know that. What is this? Method not allowed. What method not allowed? The moment you are sending request from URL location anytime, you know that it is always get. It is always get. Even if you want, I can show you here also. So what happened? If you see here what request you are sending, while you are sending the request, what request method you sent? Get. Right? So URL okay, but method is get. That's why what is the response you got back as method not allowed. So what it is saying is it's not allowed. It is not allowed. So why you created post? Okay, this is all you know that. Now my point here it is when coming back to our discussion. Now how I am deciding like whether it is a post, put, delete, rest service, or I mean which HTTP method I have to take. How I'm going to decide. While creating the REST service, first you have to define the request mapping annotation. Then you will write the logic. You will write logic like service layer integration. So service layer integration, you know that. That story, you already know that. From service repository, you all know that. Some data will come. That data you will read from the controller. That we will see that step by step. But at this line point of view, path you are very clear. So it's a simple URL pattern and we have to maintain a unique URL pattern all the time in overall controller level. That point we discussed in the previous classes also. Now when it comes to this point, how do I know that? How do I decide whether it is a post, put, delete, or I can take blindly whatever I want? No, it's not like that. So there are some guidelines available in this case. Those guidelines are followed by everyone. So guidelines means what you have to follow to get a better approach, better results. It's not mandatory. It's not a rule. It's a guidelines. So that's why it is called as REST API guidelines point of view. What HTTP methods you have to choose in general always is, I'll try to tell you, based on requirement point of view, we have to decide HTTP method for a REST service. Okay, point number one. Now, based on requirement means what is the point of requirement in this case is all about. So I'll give you. So what I'm trying to say in this case is, for example, I'll give you mapping like this. What it is if you take an DB point of view. So it's all in this case, database point of view, we have to consider. So database point of view, I'll do here. So requirement type, and then followed by database operation. So as a developer, we should decide. We are the developers. We have to decide what HTTP method we have to take, and then HTTP method, right? So I take it like this. So in this case, what I will do is, for example, I given a requirement like, okay, sign up, user sign up. So you know that what is the meaning of user sign up. So what is the details of user sign up? You know that. So what will happen user sign up? Some data will be entered by the front end level. Some data will be there that will come to the DB and that finally you are inserting into DB. That means what kind of DB operation will happen guys in this case? Insert operation will happen. Insert operation will happen. So that means what is happening in this case? Create operation. So create operation. Nothing but what is the point here? It is created user account. Create user account. So based on this requirement, you identified as It is inserting data into DB level. Nothing but you are created. It's all CRUD operations. I said, right? That's why I used a word code as create operation. So nothing but what happened, a new user account is created, a new insert record is added into the table. So in such case, what REST API guidelines is saying is, please go with post. Please create always post, like that. This is example point of view I'm taking. So this is way you have to remember. Now, for example, I given second requirement. Anything, if anything, for example, delete product. So this is the requirement. Now, what is the what ultimately when you implemented this functionality, what is the meaning of delete product? You are in the DB level, you are executing a delete query. You are planning to execute a delete query like delete from table product where product ID equal to 100 something like that. So you are having a guess. So then nothing but what delete operation. Delete operation. So that means what you are doing in this case, you deleted a product. Finally, overall what happened? Delete operation. Delete operation. So in such cases, you have to create that REST service with the delete method. Now, third point of view. So for example, I taken reset password or like update password. Update password. So how can you understand this requirement, guys? When you will update the password, when already user details available in your application. For example, you have your Instagram account, so you can change your Instagram password. When you can change your password, when you are already have an account, when you already have an account, then you are eligible to change it. Okay, for example, your friend doesn't have an account in the Instagram itself, then is it possible to change password? Option is no. Okay, right? So that means when you are making change password, when a account is already existed, when already some password is there, you are modifying from ABC to XYZ. So that means in this case, what query you will send, it's all about update operation. It's all about update operation. So nothing but what query finally may be executed, update query you are expecting, right? So in this case, what REST standards are saying is go with put method. Okay, put method. Now, fourth one is, so load all watch information, load all, okay, Apple, okay, load all products information or load all students information or display, give me student ID information, load a student information, load all students information, whatever it is, load, read, load, get product information, get order information, get student information, get all students information. So kind of thing, get all users information, get Dilip Singh profile, get so and so Suresh profile, like that. So it's all about what you're doing in this case is you're doing select operation. So nothing but read operation. If I'm using that terminology, that's why in JPA, I think I explained this concept in JPA also. At the time, I did not taken with respect to HTTP methods. I taken only requirement and DB operation point of view. So it's all about read operation, nothing but select query execution, select operation. So in such cases, generally people will, I mean, what REST standards are suggesting here, it is get method. So that means now my point here it is why I am saying guidelines is tomorrow, no sir, for create operation, for example, user sign up, I'll take only get, I will not take post. So any compiler issues or any thing is going to happen. I mean, that REST service is not going to work if I implement it with get. So that front end, I mean, client will also send get. I will also implement with get. Even though it is a add user functionality, create operation, I will implement as get. Even my front end team also will integrate as get only. So anything will happen? No, your program will work, everything will work. But it is a standard. Why is standard? I am saying today you are working in your application like this, and in my application I am giving in some other project like as post. like that. If you don't have a common standards, it's very difficult tomorrow. So that's why it's all standards. So you should not, you may violate the standards, you may get the result, but okay, you may not, you may violate the standards guidelines, you may get the results, but it's not recommended, right? So you know that, right? So that's all. So same point of view, this is how you have to choose the request mapping method based on the nature of what your requirement is doing in the DB point of view. So you have to think always in this perspective. Now, sometimes you may have a sensitive information, like which is a private information of a user, like for example, user login. Now, in this case, in general, user login point of view, what query will execute, guys? 100% is select query only, right? Select a star from users where username equal to and password equal to. Ultimately, what operation it is? Select operation. So that means the front end level, when a person entered username and password, clicking on sign in button, the request should come to backend, and in the backend we have to integrate a REST service, right? Now, how will you create that REST service? Can I create it as a get means? Maybe, but generally in this kind of scenarios, generally people will go with post. People will go with post. So even though it is a read operation, but generally people will prefer when you are having sensitive information point of view. So see here, Instagram.com. So I'm entering some mobile number and I'm entering some password. So what exactly, it's not creating any account, it's not updating, it's not deleting, it's a just read operation. We implemented in our previous example also, right? Sign in operation, select find by user id and password, like that we derived a custom find by. But ultimately what query is generated? Select query, right? We can take it as a select, but I said like select point of view get, but generally people will follow this approach also. Sensitive information point of view, people will prefer post. So what is this? Post call. So why? That's what. When you are having this, password is a sensitive information, right? So here it's all about password is a sensitive information. So some reasons I should not show that passwords here, or maybe at URL patterns level and all. So some reasons, there are some other reasons also. That's why people will prefer as a post, and it will they will attach this body to the post level to make some security point of view. So even though it is a read operation, you are making post. Even though it is a read operation, you are making a post. So that means very specific scenarios, you will go sensitive information point of view, post you will choose, even though it is a select operation. When you are exchanging the OTPs, sending the OTPs, some kind of information and all, you maybe go with post. But in general, this is the way you have to decide. Okay, so you are clear now what HTTP method you have to choose going further when you are implementing a REST service. So now basic things. Okay. So now, for example, tomorrow, let's take upload photo. Instagram point of view, I'll ask you some questions. Upload photo. So you know how to upload a post, right? Right? You are making a post. Upload photo or post, whatever it is. So now tell me. So post means you know Instagram post, right? That's what. Upload photo. For example, let's take it as upload photo. Whether it is a Facebook, Instagram, doesn't matter for me. So you're uploading a photo on Facebook, okay? And change Insta ID. Okay. Uh, get Dilip Insta details. So how do you assume what methods we can guess in this case is upload photo. What will happen, guys, when you uploaded photo on the Facebook? It is going to be for the first time you are uploading a photo. So you can see that later also. That means what happening? That photo being inserted into DB level. So permanently, right? So it's comes under the post. If you are doing any upload operations, then you are going with post. Change Insta ID. So that means, for example, my Insta ID is, for example, Dilip IT Academy, like that I have it. So tomorrow I thought like, okay, it's not looking good. I want to change it. So then what I can do, Dilip, I thought like, let me try like this, Dilip underscore IT underscore academy. So what I'm trying to do in this case, I'm updating. So that means I can take it as a put. I can expect as a put. Why? It's updating. So once I update it to this, what will happen? If anyone is trying to do set my profile with this ID, they will not see. They will see only this thing. So in the DB level, from this to this, what happened? You are updated. So get Dilip Insta details. So that means what you will do here, for example, if it is Instagram point of view, yeah. So even if you take in Dilip IT Academy, what happens? So the moment you are logging with your own account, you will see Dilip IT Academy details. That means from your profiles, you are seeing my profile. So when you are clicking on my profile ID, my user ID, then automatically you are seeing all my profile details. Then what is the thing will happen? Select star from user details where user equal to Dilip IT Academy. Like that, a query will form and it will give all the Dilip IT Academy details into your Insta account level. So that means select query. So that means you can expect get operation like that. So this is how you have to decide which HTTP method you have to choose based on the REST API implementation. Now, can you tell me in this case, which HTTP method I have to choose? So total 4 REST services I'm going to implement. So then which one we have to choose here? Add user. Add user means sign up. So I can go with post. I have to go with post. Similarly, update user point of view, we will take put. Request mapping, put method like that. So here I'll take delete and I'll take get. Okay, cool. So this is all cool now. So we will implement later. So now finally I taken post. Okay, cool. Now my point is, let's understand again here. So here, if I want to trigger this REST service, I want to test this REST service, whatever I implemented, assume I return service logic and everything. I want to test this REST service is working or not. So this logic, assume I integrated service layer. If you want, I can take service layer classes also. So dummy classes I'll take for time being, and service classes. You know this service story and all. User management service. Okay, now what I will do? Service layer, nothing but service class. Okay, cool. And public void string add user return. Sir, so many new things will come in the REST services. Not only this request body, response entity, like that. You will see a lot of URL patterns. Sorry, request parameters, path parameters. New things will come. Please concentrate, and everything is interlinked. So please maintain that what consistency in between one session to another session. Otherwise, you will get a confusion. But if you are maintaining the consistency the way I am teaching the order, you will easily understand the interconnectivity between one topic to another topic also. So that you have to take care. Okay. So okay, let's take here controller. So what I will do here, you know how to integrate the service layer. What you are doing, simple auto void. Auto void followed by what is that? User management service. Okay, simple auto varying dependency injection. Now user management service dot, you will call that add user method. Tomorrow we will see that how to get body, first name, last name on all. That is the next step. Okay, for time being, I just dummy. Then you will get a result. Okay, and then result you are giving here. So maybe sometimes if user existed already, user existed, like the dynamic response will come that you are returning back. Okay, cool. So this and all we will implement step by step. How to get the body and all we'll see. Now my point is, as a developer, I implemented this and I want to test my REST service. I want to test my REST service. I want to test perfectly whether it is working or not, like that. Now what I have to do in this case, tell to test this REST service is working or not. So what you can do now, this is the REST service you implemented in the backend. Okay. Now to test this REST service, whether it is working or not, as a developer, how can you test it? If it is a get, maybe you can send some request. Okay, then also you can send only from the browser get. But if you are having some body, tomorrow first name, last name, all this, how do you will send all this information to this REST service so that you can start testing your REST service is working or not? I want to say, right, first of all, I want to test the logic what I implemented in the REST service. First, I have to verify whether everything is working or not. Then I will inform to the front end team like, okay, this is the REST service I created. It is working as expected. Please start integrating. Then front end team will start integrate. But first of all, as a backend developer, how can I test it? Now, point number one. Now, point number two, I am the only backend developer and I don't know front end. For example, now in this case, what is the approach? Now you will say like, sir, write a front end logic. Okay, like take first name, last name, okay, user ID, password, and sign up button. And like what we did in the previous examples. So view resolver point of view we taken, right? Now you will say, no, sir, immediately create a React application. Assume we decided React front end, right? Now you can say, sir, to test that, please write React application, and in that React application, so React JS application, please write some user sign up form language, user sign up form, and then followed by write all the logic of React JS for integrating the REST service of given by the backend. Or I mean, whatever I implemented in the backend, implemented in backend, implemented in backend. So is it possible for me? So that means my point here it is, it's a post method, and tomorrow if you have a body also, to test, okay, I return one REST service. Now next minute I return one more REST service like update user, update based on the requirement, I return the logic, everything. Now I want to test this service. Now I want to test this REST service. Now I want to test this REST service. Now the challenge here it is, the moment you implemented a REST service, it's not possible to immediately write a front end logic, write a front end logic. So now you know that client server architecture, when you understood client and server architecture in servlets time onwards, when you will call as a client, when who is sending the request is always client. So whoever send the request, that will be called as a client application. Now in this case, React JS is all about client. Why? Because React JS is going to send, React application is going to send the request to Spring Boot application. Okay. So it's all Spring Boot point of view, backend application, nothing but. So now that is it. Now server application is nothing but our Spring Boot application. Who receiving the request, handling the request, nothing but receiving means handling a request, right? So they will be called as server. Okay, fine. Now my point is, how can I test all my REST services immediately? So do I need to write front end immediately? No, it's not possible, right? Within minutes writing the front end logic while calling the REST service and implementing this UI and so that first name, last name, user, okay, I will give, and then it will come here and it is inserted into DB. Then I can say like, yeah, my REST service is working as expected. Similarly, update user point of view also, I have to write all update requirement point of view, change password, all these things. Then again, my REST service is triggered from the front end to back end. Then mine is working. Then I cannot say like my service is working. So it's not possible quickly testing if you are going with this approach. That is challenge number one. Challenge number two is, for example, if you taken my profile Dilip, okay, so you know that I am the backend developer. I am the backend developer. I have zero knowledge in React. Zero. Zero knowledge in React. Then, as a backend developer, when I implemented my REST service based on the requirement point of view, so my requirement is very clear. They said like take first name and last name and email ID and password and then gender and mobile number. So they said these six details has to be captured when an account is getting created. So they like that they given the requirement, and based on these six details only, I implemented my REST service also. Now any client sending this six details to my REST service, I'll take it up and I'll insert into DB. But how can I test it? Now you cannot select sir Dilip sir write front end logic based on all these columns and integrate the REST service in this button, sign up button, so that you can test it. Okay, then it will take 2-3 days if I know the React. If I don't know, but as a backend developer, I'm not a full stack developer. I'm a backend developer. I have zero knowledge in React. I am very 100% good in the backend, but I'm zero in the React and front end point of view. Then how can I test it? Not only React. So who knows? Today it is a React. Tomorrow, a Angular application can send a request to your Spring Boot application. A Python application can send. A .NET application can send. That is the beauty of REST services, right? It's not only React. Tomorrow, the same REST service can be integrated by some other applications also. Your REST services are integrated by .NET application, Python application, React applications, or anything else. So some applications are integrating your application, communicating with. So it's a .NET application, or it might be a Python application. So it might be a Angular application. Whatever it is, it doesn't matter for me. As an individual point of view, I have to implement my REST service and I have to test it. So how can I test it? So can I test right now from my browser? So for example, see here, can I test this REST service from my browser? I implement it as a post. What is the challenge in this case? For example, see here, add user. So what it is saying, you are sending a GET request but it is accepting post in the backend. Client sending GET, but it is accepting in the backend. Then how can you test it? So in such cases, and you know that, right? As a backend developer, I don't have front end knowledge also. Then what is the second challenge? So that's why to test REST services, test REST services, we have a concept called as REST clients. REST clients. Generally, what is a client man? Client means whoever is sending the request. Whoever is sending the request is called as REST clients, right? Now, in this case, we are implementing the REST services. So to execute this REST services, as a developer point of view, to test your REST services whenever you implement it, with respect to your REST services testing, you have to use REST clients help. You have to use REST clients help. So what is that? Okay, this is okay. We are clear. Now it's all about REST clients. REST clients. So what is the point you have to understand here? It is for why you will use REST client for testing REST services. So for testing your REST services, you can't test directly from the front end or Python applications immediately. Now, for example, I added again update user REST service. Okay, update user REST service, and I decided like, okay, let's make it as put, and let's make it as day update password, update slash password. Okay, and then it is all about update password method, update password. Okay, and then assume in the user management also you have a method called as update password. Create a method in the here also. That means what I will do in the service layer, so update password. So in the service layer I created one more password class. So here assume db calls and all we will do later. db calls repository layer integration, we will integrate it later. So just I'm making dummy right now. So now that's okay. Now that means controller layer will get response like updated password successfully, something like that. Okay. Now how can I test this REST service also? I want to test this REST service. My REST service implementation is completed. Now I want to test it. To test it, I want to send first of all some information, as well as I want to send a put request. How it is possible? So will you ask me to write a React application immediately? I don't have zero knowledge. Front end knowledge, I zero. That is challenge number one. Even though I have front end knowledge, it will take 2 hours, 3 hours of time again to implement that user interface, all these things and all. It's very difficult. So that's why to quickly test your REST services, you have some tools called as REST clients. And out of that, the most popular one is Postman. Postman. And second one is Insomnia. Insomnia. Yeah. So I know these two guys. I think maybe small other tools also available. But Postman is the widely used, or every developer, or mostly in every uh, REST API developer, whether it is a .NET, Python, or wherever you go, everybody knows Postman. Testing team also. Sometimes I saw in most of the organizations they are using Insomnia. But if you are going good with one thing, rest all are common. So if you know one tool very well, I mean how you are doing with REST clients point of view, how you are doing testing with Postman, same thing with Insomnia and etc 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 like that. Okay. So now let's go with Postman only. So what you have to do is you have to download the REST clients. You have to download that Postman. See one small example later I will show you by React integrated with back Spring Boot. A real React logic integrated with Spring Boot. Once we are good with our REST services by including service layer, request body, there are some concepts available. Once we are done with that, then I will show you a demo, a real React.js application integrated by Spring Boot application. How it looks like and all I'll show you, but later after completing some other topics. But right now to test basic endpoints with post, put all these things, you can't take front end all the time. You can't develop all the time front end. You don't have front end knowledge. You are working only on the Spring Boot backend application completely, perfectly. It's an individual application. There is no relation with front end. Tomorrow your REST service, not only front end is calling, a Python application may call, a .NET application may call, a Angular application may call your REST services. That is the beauty of REST services. Any applications can call your REST services. So as an individual developer, REST API developer point of view, you have to test your REST services. For that, you have to use the REST clients. So what REST client we decided is Postman. So what I will suggest you is go to the Google and just download the Postman. Just click on, okay, search for Postman. Yeah, search for the Postman. So you will get first link like this, orange color postman.com. Go here and then just start downloading it. Okay, download the desktop app for Windows. If it is Windows. If it is Mac OS, Mac, then under. So just click on Windows 64-bit. Download this. You know how to download the things that I know. I don't need to tell you again. Okay, so then you can start installing it. So you need to, how to install means, okay. So we are going with Postman. So you can try with Insomnia once you are having good knowledge with the Postman. Same thing, just look and feel will change, different competitor, that's all. But overall concept is same. Okay. So from here you can download for your in Windows, and once download is completed, please install it. Install it means you just need to do double clicks only, nothing else. Double clicks, next, 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 complete. Okay. Okay. So you just need to download it and install it and just do the double click. Installation means you just double clicks and complete it. So Insomnia also I'll show you. Just Insomnia. Something is there, man. Yeah, Insomnia REST client. Yeah, Insomnia. Yeah, this is what Insomnia REST you have to search with. Okay, by Kong. Okay. So this is what. Same thing. It just like looks like same thing only. Okay, you can use this one also. If you are having interest, download this one and keep ready for this one also. Sometimes you can test on this, sometimes you can test on the rest and also. Okay, so that you can put this one also in your resume like REST clients, Postman as well as Insomnia like that. Mm. Okay, so small look and feel will change, but ultimately same. Okay, now let's go with Postman only. So once you install, you can find out your Postman like this. So Postman app is downloaded, right? So install, right? Well, then you can see this. So open it. I think it's already installed in my computer. So you will see some previous content, but I will show you when you open for the first time how it looks like. So it will show you this kind of things and all. Yeah. So what I will do is new. Okay. So do one thing. Yeah. So for the first time you open, you will see like this, guys. This is the empty Postman. For the first time you open, you will see Postman like this. Okay. So now by using this Postman, understand the importance of REST clients in this case. What is the advantage of REST clients in this case is what is happening in this case is I said right now, right? So if you take in this diagram again, as a backend developer, when I implemented my REST service, I don't know front end, I don't know all other things who are going to call my REST services also, I don't know. Simply I want to create a I want to implement a REST service and it should work as expected based on the requirement by taking all 6 values or whatever it is. Now in this case, this post and this REST client is working as a, okay, in this case, by using this REST client, what you are doing is, for example, Postman is the REST client we are using, right? Postman name is Postman, so it's all REST client. Client means now by using this Postman, you are sending request to your REST service, and that request will execute, obviously. And then whatever the response came from the post, okay, from your REST API, REST service again will be displayed in the REST client level. So that means your REST client, okay, acting as a real application, okay, which triggers requests to, okay, REST APIs and, okay, takes responses and it accepts response also and it accepts responses also. So that means tomorrow a front end developer also immediately he will not maybe assume my service is ready. Now front end developer started working on it based on my information. He also immediately he can't understand my Spring Boot knowledge because he don't know what is a Spring Boot. You don't know what I written and all. It doesn't matter for him what I implemented. And I could not share my code also with them. I don't want to share my code also. I'll give some information like these are the path you have to send. This is the HTTP method you have to send. Then this is the request you have to send. And this is the response. I'll give it back to you. Like that, I'll give you a document to the front end. Then based on that front end point of view, they can also use this REST client and they will send the URL. They will send request to this REST service and they will see the response. And based on that, they will start implementing front end also. So that means in this case, Postman is acting as a front end application, a Python application. You can just, it is acting as a client. So that means it's just acting as a front end, it is just acting as a Python, it's just acting as a .NET application, etc. etc. Finally, can I say REST client is a consumer? It is acting as a consumer application. So as a developer, we are using same for testing. Everything is good. So tomorrow, a Python application may communicate. .NET application will communicate with a REST service. But as a developer, when I want to test my own REST service, I need to use Postmans because I don't know all other technologies. Tomorrow, when a front end team also would like, before integrating your REST service, they would like to test your REST service once, how it is behaving. Then they will start writing the coding. Then they want to test your REST service. Then also, that means a front end developer also should know how to utilize REST clients. So first, what you will do now, you tell like my REST service is ready. Please start integrate. Then he will open his Postman. He will start call your REST service from the Postman. He will observe what request data is sending, what response data you are giving from this REST service point of view. Based on that, he will start writing the coding. So that means this knowledge is important for everyone. So that is how these are all called as REST clients. Why REST clients? This will work only for REST services. Postman, Insomnia. So similarly, SOAP services point of view, you have SOAP UI at one point of time. It doesn't, it no need to discuss about it now. So this is all works only for REST services point of view, Postman. Okay. So now see what I am doing. It's acting as a front end application. It is acting as a consumer application, guys, simply. It is acting as a consumer application simply. So that's why it is called as clients. Now see here what I am doing. So start your service, start your application. Yeah, give me a moment. I need to take water. Yeah. Okay. So now total two REST services I have implemented so far. One is add user, one is update password. One is post one is put one. Right? So now I want to test this REST service. So what is the data? What is the URL you have to form from this? So testing. You just started testing. Now let's integrate this one. It's testing. So this is the REST service, right? So what is the URL you are going to prepare? Server URL localhost 8899/API/add user. Add user. Okay. But what is the request method? It is expecting post, right? Post. So what you have to do is open the Postman and you can see here option new. Click on new and you can select option HTTP. So what you have to do? So from today onwards, we will use Postman every day until our last day training of REST services. Okay, and tomorrow when you are working for REST services in any real-time project also, if your organization is saying like we are going to use Postman only for the testing, then you will also use, or sometimes Insomnia, but people will use mostly Postman only. Okay, so then click on new and then you will find out HTTP option. Okay, so new, click on HTTP. The moment you clicked on HTTP, then it will open this form like this. Then it will open a form like this. Okay, if you see here, enter URL here, something like get you can say, right? See, it is nothing but acting as a browser also. So it's just like browser level. Generally, what you will do here, you will enter the URL, right? That URL you are entering, API add user, something like that, right? So same thing you are entering. But in the browser, what is the problem? Browser is a different purpose. It is also client. From here you can send only get, you can't test your REST services from the browser. It is only for the purpose of front end, rendering the HTML output, all this. That's a different story. So in this case, what is the HTTP method, guys? It is post. Service level, I implemented a REST service with this path with HTTP method post. Now here from this drop down, select the post. Now finally, what request you are sending to the backend application by using this HTTP client postman? You are sending post request, you are sending this URL. That's what server is also expecting, right? That is what server is also expecting. Okay, so that is what server is also expecting. Okay, so that is what, right? Server is also expecting what post as well as this URL. So let's click on send button now. See, tomorrow when you are sending body, request body and all, I'll tell you JSON data. So I said, right, JSON XML data we can use. So JSON data, XML data, like that, I'll tell you what and all you have to do. It's a step-by-step process. For time being, select none. You don't have any body, select none only. I mean, by default, none will be there. Don't do anything, just post and URL. Now see what's happening. Sending a request to send, and if you observe here, what you got, user added successfully, something like, what is this section is called as response section. This section is response section, this section is request section, this section is URL section, HTTP method and URL. And if you are having any request body tomorrow, you will add that body here, that JSON or whatever it is, and you will click on send. Once you clicked on send, what will happen? This will internally triggers your local up and running Spring Boot application. You have to please stop your okay, start your application, guys. So many people I observed, they are not starting this application and they are hitting from here, and they will come back to me and they are, sir, my service is not working. It will not work because you are not started server application. So that's why I'm saying client server should be up and running always. Client sending a request means it should reach to server, means server application should up and running always. So that's why please start your server always. Okay, let's do one thing. Okay, so please start always your server without starting testing from the postman, nothing. Okay, post. So right, click on send. User added successfully. See, the request is coming or not? The request is coming. So this is how you are going to utilize the postman going further to test all your REST services. Whatever the REST services you are going to implement in future, big, small, or whatever it is, any requirement, you can test any REST service from this postman. That is how this postman software is implemented. So we will also see how to pass request body and all. Now, for example, next service I want to test. What is the next service? This is the service. Right? So now how will you form URL from this based on this REST service point of view? This is the URL. So update password, and then it is put, right? Yeah. So now let's do what you will do. Take this URL, you form the URL, go to postman, Okay, and select put and enter the URL. See now if I'm still keeping add user, what you will get response, guess? It is a post actually, but I'm sending put. What is the response you will get? Not allowed, right? Method not allowed. That same thing we saw earlier in the browser also. So this is the response section. It is saying like 405, I mean method not allowed. So simply see, understand what it is saying error also. Request method, HTTP request method not supported exception. Request method put is not supported, and the reason is they will mention somewhere else. Method put is not supported for this endpoint, like that they are telling. Because yes, it is as a post, right? You are sending. Now put point of view, I give an update password. Now exactly update password is put only. Send it. Sending request. What happened? Any mistake in this case? Okay, spelling mistake. Local host. Yeah, it's a spelling mistake. So now see here, user added successfully. So I think we given wrong. I mean, not wrong. It executed, but only thing in the service layer we return password updated successfully. Okay, so see the devtools is helping like this. The moment I made the code changes, you don't need to restart. Internally it will restart and you can come back and you can see the latest message like password updated successfully. So this is how you are going to utilize the postman. Now can I write delete endpoint, delete user profile method equal to, I mean delete. So use this enum request method dot delete. Then for time being I'm writing like profile deleted. So service layer and all we will integrate later. Just hands on do all this. Now I'm writing one more REST service like okay, it's all about delete profile, delete profile. This is get profile. And I'll make it as get operation. Total 4 operations. So that profile details, Dilip, India, something, etc., 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 etc. Just dummy data. But our concentration is completely on this annotation today's class. That's what. So now total put, post, delete, all this you have. Now what you have, this is the URL. This is the one more REST service you created. And this is the one more REST service you created. Now based on that, what is the URLs you have to create? Here it is. This one, this one point of view, delete profile, API slash delete profile, and then delete. So you have to send always delete request. And in this case, get profile, and then it is a get method. Now let's send this request also, delete profile, postman. You can take plus button if you don't want to. Okay, if you want to keep the old endpoint tested as it is, you can keep click on plus. It will open new tab like browser only. Just click on that, or you can go from here also new HTTP. Then it will open a new tab, or you can click on plus tab. So then here I will give API delete profile, and what is the HTTP method? Delete method. So apart from delete, if I given anything, See, the profile deleted. If I given anything, you will get like not allowed, not allowed. So delete. So this is the flexibility you are having with the Postman's. Okay, when comparing with the browser. From the browser, you can't do all this testing. From the only REST client's point of view, you can do this. So tomorrow, when you are implemented any REST services going further, whether it's a small or big or doesn't matter for us, we will always use Postmans and we will test everything from the Postman, so that now everything is good. Then you will inform to the developer, hey developer, my service is ready. So that's how you should have knowledge on this tool. Anyway, we are going to use this tool every day now onwards. So until last day of REST API training. So you will get a lot of hands-on. So what I will suggest you is I'll stop until this today. Tomorrow we will see what we will see is, okay, we are done with this annotation, right? Still there are some properties are there. Okay, if you see here consumes, I'll explain what is the consumes. Headers we will take later. Name I will come back. Params we will discuss later, it is a concept. Producers also, consumes and producers I'll discuss at a time with respect to JSON and XML point of view. Value also I'll discuss. If you see here, value and path both are same, alias names. In this case, if I given value also, it will work. So you can give either value or Python for this URI path. Okay, they given two choices, value and path. So, but better naming convention is path. So you can use value or path. Even if you given value also, it will work. See here, I given value, save it. Sorry, here comma is there, right? Sorry. Save it. See, if you made any mistakes in program and save it, your application will not start, guys. See here, you will get some exception now. This is all. If you are seeing this kind of exceptions when you started your application, means somewhere you are having problem. Fix that issues. Now save it. Now send the request. Now it is started successfully. Please observe, when you are added the dev tools, people will not observe what's happening in the console. They will get exceptions here, and but still they will test from the here. If you are getting exception, means your application is not started successfully. Then you should not do the testing. You have to fix first of all why it is not started. So that is what you have to earn. Now see here, I given what, get profile level, I given value, right? Get profile. Yeah, you can take one more also. Get profile and get method only I given. Send it. See, it's working. That means in path place you can give value also. You can give path also. They given two choices. You can choose any of them. But path is a better convention. That means URI path point of view. Value I don't like the naming convention point of view. That's why I think they given two things. Let's take path or value. Either of them is okay. There is no problem in that. Okay, so tomorrow what we can discuss is, if you want to send some data, for example, what is my requirement in this case? As I mentioned earlier, in this REST service point of view, add user point of view, yes, these are the 6 values I'll get from the client to backend. So that means now I have to make sure these 6 values being for the 6 columns, I mean for the 6 properties, the values coming from data. For example, a person clicked on Dilip, Singh, and then password, gender, everything, clicked on sign up. Then the data is coming. So it's called as request body, right? So now tomorrow we will see how we are handling the request body and all, and then I will involve JSON. So data, I said, right, the data exchange will happen always in the JSON data format, apart from string. So what is a JSON, what is a request body and all, tomorrow we will see that. Okay, so that's all for today. Please practice all the things what we discussed today. Please do all these experiments. Create, post, put, delete, uh, get, like this, for REST services, and create one more controller class also. Create number of REST services, and just start testing from the Postman and try to understand the Postman. See, whatever you tested, your history will be available here. Even if you open later also, I think your history will be available. Okay, so get the hands-on on Postman. So tomorrow I'll involve few more things in the same Postman point of view also, so that you should not, by the time, be ready with Postman. That's what I'm trying to say. So just do all these experiments what you did.